Hi, it's Penny here. Welcome to another reading vlog. This week is kind of like a catch up, but also a falling behind kind of reading vlog. So I have a bunch of like little books that I was supposed to read in February and I didn't get to. And also Oe, which I did start and then I just found I wasn't in the mood for it. So I kind of want to finish that. And then I also have an audiobook that I was meant to read in February, or I planned to read in February. Now it's the 1st of March. So like I want to read them to catch up, but no matter how quickly I read them, I'm not going to catch up. So I've just kind of accepted that I'm going to be a week behind on my reading plans, and probably I just need to adjust my plans. Like my whole point of my reading plans is to try and make them realistic. So if they're not realistic, I should change the plans, not the execution. Anyway, so Oe that I will be trying to read, this is like a New Zealand contemporary about some people living awful lives. To be honest, it's not the kind of book I would normally pick up, but I do think that since it's a local book, I would like to get the perspective of what's in here. It's got amazing ratings, so I'm gonna give it another go and hope that I'm in the mood now. Am I? I don't know. We'll see. I do also have a couple of easier reads. So this is a children's book called Whetū Toa and the Secret Spies. This is the 3rd book in the series and I really love the first 2 books. It's about this young girl named Whetū Toa, and her mother go to live with this magician because he needs a personal assistant. Ooh, I ruined the lighting there. His life is a mess, so he needs a personal assistant, which is Whetū's mum. And then Whetū gets involved with helping out with the farm animals. So in this one, I believe the sheep are gonna throw a protest, and there's also going to be a robot dog. These are kind of silly, but also really fun. And also, it should be a really quick read because it's only 174 pages and like a big font plus some pictures. So I think this will be a lot of fun. Steph Matuku is an author who I've loved a lot of their stuff. I always have a lot of fun with them, so I'm expecting to love this. I also have a very different tone, The Grownup by Gillian Flynn. So she's the author of Gone Girl. I don't know what this is about, but I expect it to be quite dark and twisted, but also this one is only 67 pages. So it should be really quick to read. It's also got like quite decent padding around the edges of the pages and like quite big line spacing. All of these are relevant when you're talking about how long something is. It's not just the page numbers, right? So this should be dark and twisted and a good time in a very different way that this will be a good time, but hopefully I'll have a good time with both of them to balance out probably not having a good time with this one. Although, also, I should be having a good time with my audiobook. In fact, I know I will be because I'm already 10% of the way in to Rise of Empire by Michael J. Sullivan. So this is the 2nd book in the Rhyria Revelations. I think I keep saying Rhyria Chronicles. I also think it's meant to be Rhyera. I think that's how the audiobook narrator says it. Anyway, this is the 2nd book in a bigger series, but also the 2nd book in the trilogy. In this trilogy, we're following primarily Royce and Hadrian, who are like these thieves that also every time their thieving jobs kind of go wrong and they end up involved in the magic and the politics of the world. There is actually also a lot of perspective of other characters at the moment. The princess is one that I particularly like, but this book actually started with this servant girl, I guess, who's been put in charge of this new, like this young girl who's been put into a position of power. I want to try to not spoil the 1st book, but I really like that introduction. Like basically, Michael J. Sullivan's writing style is really like it draws you in. It's quite humorous, but the characters feel very real. It's like humorous in a real way. A little bit dark, but also it adds a level of lightheartedness to fairly dark topics. Anyway, I've been having a lot of fun with the series, so I'm looking forward to continuing that. It is quite a long audiobook. I think it's 26 hours long, but I'm listening to it on 2.2 speed and that kind of seems fairly natural to me. And like the real reason it's that long is because initially Michael J. Sullivan wrote this series. Losing my voice. Initially he wrote it as like a 6-book series and he wrote the whole series before it was published, but then they actually published it like as 3 books instead of 6. So even though this is the 2nd book, it's kind of the 3rd and 4th book. So it means you kind of get 2 plots for one in the second book because it's really 2 books, if that makes sense. Anyway, I'll continue that and maybe try and read some of these. I don't actually know where I'm going to start, but we'll see. And then I'll let you know how we're going. So, one other thing that I forgot to tell you that I have been reading is Witch Hat Atelier. I have it from my library, and to be honest, so I'm up to volume 4. This is just like a cutesy manga about these girls kind of at this little witch magic school where the magic's all based around drawing. And while there is kind of like a darker plot bubbling underneath, at the beginning of volume 4, not much had happened with that, and I was actually thinking of DNFing the series because even though it was cute, the focus of the plots was more about just these individual girls' experiences and like them learning lessons. It was very cute, but just I wanted that darkness to come through or like more to happen. However, by the end of volume 4, some interesting things did happen, and I feel like maybe, I could be wrong, but I feel like maybe now we're going to get a bit more momentum with the bigger story. So then I was really keen to continue the series, and I was like, that's perfect probably for this catch-up reading kind of week where I'm reading lots of small things. But then I went and looked up volume 5 at my library, and I had to go on the hold queue, and it says maybe a couple of weeks. So that's that plan ruined. Anyway, I am glad to at least have enjoyed volume 4 more than I thought I would. Then as well, I did pick up the Grownup by Gillian Flynn because like after reading Witch Hat Atelier, I wasn't really in the mood for the somewhat cuteness of Secret Spies, or what I expect to be somewhat cute. So I decided to go for the darker read, and it didn't take me long to get about halfway through, so I probably will finish this off today. It kind of reads very like stream of consciousness. It's basically this woman who has grown up as somewhat of a con artist. Her mother basically trained her in begging, and she's, I don't know, has a dodgy past, which has only been vaguely referenced to. I don't know if it'll be relevant to the rest of the story. But she's kind of gotten herself in a position where she's gone to this woman's house and she's going to do some kind of like spiritual cleansing. Now she thinks this is all rubbish, but she's thinking maybe this would be a new kind of line of business to get into. Basically, conning money out of rich women who are nervous about their house. However, halfway through, she's just gone to the house, and it's really setting up a very haunted house kind of vibes. And this woman has these 2 sons, her actual son and her stepson, and something's weird there. I definitely can feel a twist coming. So we'll see how that goes in the second half, but I'm enjoying this. I actually think I won't make any comparisons to Gillian Flynn's other stuff yet, but so far, a good read. So that's a good start to the reading for the week. Hello, so welcome to a crappy rainy day. I'm actually not sad about the rain at all because it means I can do a bunch of reading, and I actually also bought myself a jigsaw puzzle to do, so I'm kind of rotating today between booktube stuff, like watching videos, making videos, doing my puzzle, and reading. But I have actually finished some things since I last talked to you. So I finished the Grownup, and that was very tricksy, and I feel like, though, that I should have seen it coming. Like, the setup with this, I should have seen it coming, but it was kind of a satisfying ending at the same time as being very open-ended. I can't say much more about it without spoilers, but there was a little bit of thrillingness at the end, and even the open-endedness of the ending was one that felt quite like, ooh, what's going to happen? Yeah, I quite like this. If you want a quick little thriller, it's very well done. As well, I did read a little bit more of The Honey Month, but just one day. I think, have I even talked about this in this blog? I can't remember. This one is it's a big long story, and if I've already talked about it, anyway, basically it's meant to be for each day of February. There's a little description of a honey sample, and then a little bit of like poetry or a short story written inspired by that honey, and it's meant to be one for every day in February. I was not consistent with them in February, so I'm trying again in March, and I've read one so far, and it's the 5th of March. So the one a day thing's not working, but I'm just quite happy to go through it really slowly. even though like I did really like day 8, I just feel like I get more out of it when it's more spread out. Now I'm wondering, should I just do like 1 a week for the rest of the year? I don't know. Anyway, the other thing that I did start reading was Whetū Toa and the Secret Spies, and the first chapter was actually amazing, kind of like a feminist masterpiece. These new sheeps turn up. Sheeps? Penny. I thought you were a New Zealander. You should know it's sheep. These new sheep show up, and this ram that lives on the farm is super excited about these sheep coming. And he says, "Welcome, ladies, and may I say how wonderful it is to have your pretty little faces brightening up the farm." And Whetū's like, he sounds like one of those old men on television, the ones that made her mum cross. And the sheep also are like, "Do you hear that, girls? Just decoration, are we? No brains at all." So they start off on the wrong foot, and then Whetū tries to say, you know, he's harmless really, you'll get used to him, to the sheep. And Barbara, the main sheep, is like, the question is, why should we have to? So nicely done. And so I've read a couple more chapters since then, and basically Ramses is continuing to be a jerk. And so these sheep have decided to have a protest. But at the same time, there is this robot dog that there's a very complicated instruction manual for that Whetū's trying to work out. But also, this other magician has stolen a trick from the magician that they live with. And it seems like it's something to do with the mum having formed a relationship or a friendship with this other magician. And there's also this rabbit assistant that Whetū's very suspicious of. And I just feel like there's so much going on, and if it could somehow bring it all together, that would be amazing. I feel like it might even do it. There's also some really nice bits, like there's some nice bits in here about supporting protests and explaining it in a way that is really good for children. And also like the magician is having a mental breakdown about his tricks being stolen, and the way that Whetū and her mother kind of like talk him down and like help him deal with his emotions is also so well done. Like, I'm just very impressed with this. I'm having a great time with it. So I will almost definitely finish this today since it's a rainy day. I have also been listening, what am I doing with my hair? I have also been listening to Rise of Empire. Oh, actually, I haven't been going that fast with that because I was also listening to this nonfiction called Laziness Does Not Exist. To be honest, it's not the book that I wanted it to be. I thought it was going to be a book like about judging other people as lazy and about why that's not a valid judgment, but it's more about burnout, and it's more about people like self-judging themselves as lazy even though they're obviously overworking themselves, and like saying it's not lazy to rest, which is kind of, I don't know, some of the way that it's framing itself is almost undoing its own message, because it's basically saying, no, look, you are really hardworking, so you do need to rest. But it's kind of implying, I don't think it means to, but it's kind of implying that you have to work really hard to deserve rest or to earn rest. And that's not really a message I like, but also not the book that I thought I was getting. So I've been trying to reframe my experience of this book to look at it as a book about burnout. It is better if you look at it as a book about burnout. That's not really what I was expecting though. Also, like, it does at times admit its privilege. Like, it's giving a lot of advice about stepping back and taking rests and reframing your job and all sorts of really good advice that a lot of people can't take because of the situation they're in. And it does kind of acknowledge that, but also still, it annoys me a little bit. These like self-help books that are only really relevant to like people with a certain level of privilege. So I'm going to finish it, but yeah, just wasn't quite what I thought it was going to be when I saw everybody raving about it. So then, my video camera corrupted the file. So I was able to get that much of the footage of my last clip, and the rest where I talked about Rise of Empire, I don't know. I don't know why my camera did that, and now I'm worried that it's going to do it more. But hopefully it was just like a one-off glitch. Anyway, since then I have actually listened to a bit more of Rise of Empire. Actually, I finished off Laziness Does Not Exist as well. And the ending did have, I think, a chapter kind of specially about compassion and like not judging other people, which I appreciated. Like, overall, I think it was a good book. It just wasn't the book I was expecting. So I'm glad it was relatively short. I don't know if I got anything out of it because I'm not really the target market, which is someone who's burnt out from working too hard. Like, I just got rid of my old stressful job, which was causing me burnout, and have moved to a small town to avoid all of that shit. So I don't really need to know that that's what I should do because I've already done it. Anyway, I finished that off, and then I did continue listening to Rise of Empire. So now I am 26% of the way through. I still have a lot more of this audiobook to go, so I kind of need to hurry up. But also, now that I've finished the other audiobook, we should get through this quicker. So we'll see. I am really liking it. I'm now forgetting, like, what have I said to you previously and what did I just say in that corrupted clip? I can't remember. But I am enjoying it. I think what I said is that I'm really loving some of the female characters. Like, Royce and Hadrian are kind of set up as the main characters. However, like, I don't mind Royce and Hadrian, and there's like a bit of a possible chosen one type trope going on with them, but I can't decide, like, is that what is actually happening or is it a trick? Haven't decided. But like, I like them. They're good comic relief. They have a few interesting character traits, but mostly I like the bits that are about Arista the princess. I like how in some ways she's like a total badass, and she's also very privileged, but also like struggles all the time just to work out what to do and like trying to do the best. I really like her character. And I'm also really enjoying the little bits we're getting of the maid trying to help out with this other young girl. And I also really like the little chapters we get of the bad guys, especially when things are going wrong for them. Like, that's my favorite. And I think Michael J. Sullivan writes the bad guys with like just as much character development. Like, they feel as real as the good guys, which I appreciate. So I'm having a really good time with that. I think the audiobook narrator especially is really good. And I actually think the next part of the Rairio Chronicles, once I finish this Royce and Hadrian section, I don't think my library has the audiobooks, and that's going to annoy me, but maybe also they'll be better read physically. In my head, I actually am just realizing now that I'm expecting Royce and Hadrian's books to be quite humorous and then the other ones not to be as much, but they probably will be, won't they? Anyway, I guess I'll find out eventually. So I have also read some other things since I last talked to you. I finished off Whetū Toa and the Secret Spies. I really liked it. Everything did come together pretty well, except for like the protesting thing with the sheep was not as integrated as the rest of it, but it was still all very clever, very fun. I can imagine a young child loving this. I think at the front it says, I think maybe I saw it online, that the target age range is like 7 to 11. Now obviously that's not me, but I still had a lot of fun with this, and I really appreciated the way that it was dealing with certain themes as well. It made me laugh a lot. I think maybe I needed a little bit of a light-hearted break. So then also, actually, the next thing I have been reading is The Cursed Princess Club. Now, if you've been around here a while, you know I love The Cursed Princess Club. When I read it previously, I read it via the webtoon, but it has been being turned into books, and my library has the first 2, so I've decided to reread it. I'm not sure what I'm going to do when I get past the first 2 that my library has and have to like read the other ones. I'm not sure. I guess we'll see. So this is about these 3 princesses, the pastel princesses, and they have been betrothed to the 3 plaid princes. And so the older 2 sisters are really beautiful, like animals do their hair and flowers grow around them. But obviously the 3rd princess doesn't fit that kind of beauty standard. But she is a very lovely person, and her family just sees her as beautiful inside and out because they know her so well. And so when the plaid princes were sent a picture, they actually thought that the brother in the family was the 3rd princess and that this was just like a haunted picture. So the 3rd prince has a bit of a spaz about it, and Gwen overhears him calling her ugly. She runs out into the forest where she meets the Cursed Princess Club. So basically out in their haunted forest is this club of princesses. I can't find a good picture of all the princesses. I mean, this is some of them. So she runs into the Cursed Princess Club, and basically they are there to support her. And we also, throughout the rest of this, will learn about like all their problems, and there's a bunch of characters that I love. I just find this so humorous. And already, so I'm about halfway through this first volume, and there's been some things I've picked up that are references to things that I know are going to happen. So like, it seems like just a silly little fairy story type thing with a bunch of wholesome messages, and it is that, but also the plot is really clever and the humor is really clever at times as well. So I'm really enjoying my read of that. But actually also I have finished some more things, but I'm looking at how long this clip is already and I'm not trusting my camera. So let's pause you for a second and then start again. I don't actually know if that's making it less likely to corrupt or more, who knows. Anyway, the other thing that I did do is I've read a couple of the short stories that are part of the Whetū series. So I've read the one that goes between Harrow and Nona, which was called As Yet Unsent. So basically this is just a report of a certain character talking about, like, so 3 of our characters were kind of off doing something different while Harrow was happening, and As Yet Unsent is the report of one of them about what was happening. I kind of wish I had read it before Nona because it does give you a little bit of an insight into some of the relationships that you're getting in Nona. Like, I don't think you necessarily have to read it, but I do think when I reread Nona, which I will definitely do because I love that series so much, that I will pick up more having read that short story. And then I also read another short story called The Unwanted Guest, which comes after Nona but actually is set kind of during Nona. So basically near the end of Nona there are 2 necromancers that have a bit of a battle of the minds, let's say, and this is the story of what happened there. But it's kind of just like a silly little all in their heads imaginary story. Do you know, this Whetū series is the weirdest series, so the short stories are also really weird, and the whole weird sense of humor is there as well. I don't think I liked The Unwanted Guest as much, and I don't think it added as much to the story as Yet Unsent, but I still really liked getting back into that world a little bit. I kind of was going to hold off until whenever Electro the Ninth is announced to do a reread of the Whetū series, but I don't know. I don't know how long I'm going to be able to hold off because I'm just so enamored by that series. So we'll see. I know I have a lot of other books to read, so I'll probably be able to hold off. So next, I do actually have Lochlamora and the Bottled Serpent, which is like a short story in the Gentleman Bastard series. I'm going to read that possibly tonight, possibly, and then it's nearly bedtime at the moment. Then as well, I am going to try and read OA. I know I said I would, and then I haven't done that at all. But maybe I'm running out of other random things to read, so then maybe I won't have any distractions. Except life, of course. I have this little like remote control for my camera, and I don't know, I'm not sure if it's working anymore. Maybe it needs a new battery. Anyway, what has been happening? Do you know? A lot of my focus over the last few days has just been working on the puzzle that I've been doing. I just find anytime I'm not doing something, I look at my puzzle and I start looking at the pieces. And even then it's taking me a long time to do the puzzle, which is what I wanted. I want it to just be like a nice, cozy little thing to do on the side. But I can also definitely feel it drawing me in addictively. I will say I've been watching booktube videos while I do my puzzle, and now I'm all caught up on that. I know I probably should have been listening to my audiobook, but I'm still making okay progress with my audiobook. I think I should be able to finish it by the end of the weekend. Is that optimistic? It might be slightly optimistic. Because I'm only 46% of the way through, which means I've got 14 hours to go, but I'm listening to it at 2.5 speed now, and I don't feel like that feels too rushed. I think the audiobook narration is good enough that it can kind of handle being sped up that much. for my tastes anyway. Also, 46% of the way through means I'm pretty sure that I'm getting very close to the end of the first book within this book. Have I explained the nonsense with this book series? I think I have. So this is really 2 books published as one. And I think I've maybe only got like 2 more chapters left of this book, and then we'll be into another book. And I can definitely feel it, like getting to that climactic part. There's kind of like a big battle happening in one place. I don't actually know. Do I expect the battle to go well or go badly? We are only kind of halfway through the trilogy, so maybe it'll go badly so that our characters can like suffer some more. We'll see. So I'm continuing that. And then as well, I have been reading a little bit of OA. I don't actually remember in this vlog what I've told you about it, but basically we're following this young boy. His parents have died and his older brother have just like left him at his auntie's house, and his uncle is kind of an asshole, and it's kind of a not great situation. And then his brother is off kind of living a bit of a nomadic, homeless life and struggling to figure out what he wants to do and feeling very guilty for having left his little brother behind. And then there's also another timeline, which I'm pretty sure at this point is the parents. Well, kind of. And I hate that timeline. It's written in a much more confusing way, and it's a lot of like gang violence and drugs and horribleness, although maybe it's about to turn around. But also, knowing what I know about the kids' story in the future, I can't see it ending well. So I still wouldn't necessarily say that I'm enjoying this. I think I like the kids' story better, but even then, that's very slow to make any progress. And maybe it's just that this is a very character-based story and I'm more of a plot-based reader. But I also don't feel like this is drawing me into the experience. Like, I've seen this compared on the back of the book, I think, to Once Were Warriors, which is a New Zealand classic. And I have read that. It's very difficult for me, literary writing style. But I still felt like I got a lot out of it in terms of it broadening my perspective. Whereas this, I just think it's awful to read, and I don't know that it is broadening my perspective. But I guess we'll see how I feel. I'm also going to try and finish this weekend. It's Saturday morning now, so again, maybe optimistic, but we'll see. I do also want to try and do a bunch of other things this weekend and my puzzle. So even though it's a rainy day, which would be perfect for reading, I might not actually do that much reading today. I'm about to film a video, so we'll see what happens. Hello, so since I have last talked to you, I have reblued my hair, and I did actually finish both the things that I was reading, although it's been a couple of days. It's now actually the 12th of March, and I'm just about to start my March TBR, so in some ways I feel like I caught up on things over the last week and a bit, but also I'm still definitely behind. But as I think I said at the start of the vlog, it doesn't really matter. I just need to be more realistic about my plans in the future. But anyway, I finished OA. Oh, and I remember, I'm really angry about the ending because the dog died. I counted 6 humans also died throughout this book. And I also thought that was like a little bit too much, especially like near the end. Some of it was like, well, it was kind of written in a way that like all the deaths happened near the end. And then the dog dying was just like, it made me so angry. And maybe I did get something out of this book in terms of like, I did get some perspective of what it would be like to be dealing with so much tragedy and trying to put your life together in that situation. But also, it was so painful to read, and I hated all the awful things that were happening to the children, and I hated that the dog died. So I don't think I liked it, because I also don't think I liked the writing style and just the way that it kind of made every death into a mystery, even though this is not a murder mystery. I feel like my lighting is all over the place. It keeps changing every time I look up. It's like a different brightness. I think it's because it's really bright outside, but like really dark in here for some reason. I don't know. Anyway, the summary is I did get emotionally invested in this in the end, but I didn't really like the writing style. I didn't like the emotional trauma, so I'm a bit annoyed about it. I did also finish, I keep forgetting the name. Empire Rising, is that what it's called? I think so. So the second book in the Ryria Revelations. Wow, I'm bad at names today. So what can I say without spoilers? Definitely a bunch of things went wrong in the second book, which I guess is what I should have expected to kind of go into that final book. We definitely learned some things in that second book that I was interested in, and there were some surprises. And overall, I just really enjoy the writing style and the characters. They all feel very real, and it's written in like kind of a humorous way at times, but it's a humor that kind of meshes with the story. It's like, this all sucks, but let's have a laugh about it kind of humor. I don't know. Anyway, the next book in the series is on my March TBR, so I'll probably be reading that in a vlog coming soon. As well, oh, the only other thing I was going to tell you about was my book haul. So I went to the secondhand bookshop the other day and I found these editions of the, what is this series called? The Rain Wild Chronicles, so by Robin Hobb. I had just the third and fourth books in the quartet in these editions, and I kind of hate them because they don't go with any of the other books on my Realm of the Elderlings shelves. But these ones are actually quite beautiful, and they're like the same size as a lot of the other ones I have. So I've got book 1, book 2, and then I'm not actually sure if this book 4 is exactly the same set, but it's similar. It's similar. I did also get the third book, because you will have noticed I'm missing the third book in those small ones. I got the third book in this bigger edition. I guess they probably got donated together as a whole set. I do think this edition is really beautiful. Like, compare these two. This is just all shiny and the dragon's much more beautiful. And this is like a matte cover, although the dragons are beautiful. And I guess the typography is beautiful, but anyway, I prefer this one. It doesn't go with the other ones, but I kind of thought it kind of goes. It's similar art style and similar fonts and similar shininess. And also this is beautiful. Like if I had the whole set in this edition, then I would get rid of the other ones. I don't know. I kind of just try and collect Robin Hobb books where I can, with the idea that one day I'll have the whole Realm of the Elderlings in matching ones. But I sometimes grab ones that don't match what I currently have in case there's a future where I find all the matching ones in that set. I don't know if that's sensible, but that's what I've been doing. So I was excited to find those ones. That actually, the secondhand bookshop had a bunch of other Robin Hobb books, but ones I mostly had. The only ones I was also tempted by is they had the whole, too hard to get to, the whole Farseer trilogy, and the ones I have are a bit crappy, but it was like $41 for the trilogy, and I can't really justify that just to have slightly nicer copies. I don't think so. Anyway, I guess that is everything. The only things I probably didn't mention was I have been continuing The Promised Neverland, but I've barely gotten anywhere in Volume 5. And then I haven't actually picked up The Cursed Princess Club. I'm trying to think about why. I guess just because I've been wanting to do other things. Anyway, I guess that is this blog. Let me know if you've read any of the things I talked about in this video, because I'd love to chat with you about them down in the comments. Or let me know if you've been reading anything great lately. Do subscribe if you'd like to see more of my bookish videos. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you are doing well, and I will see you next time.